Alright, you struggle with hip turn? First do. We've been taught this X factor idea, and it's not a bad idea. I mean, it definitely works for those people who are really flexible and can pull it off. Alright, but today we're going to talk about really helping you increase your hip turn and helping you understand exactly how your hip should turn, because that's the most common fault that I'm going to come across is people turn their hips, but they do it incorrectly, so it causes swing faults. So I just put an alignment rod right through my belt pants here, all right, so you can visualize how your hips should be turning. But before we go through that, we're going to talk about the common fault that I see when people turn their hips. So you can people set up, you can have a perfect setup, and what I see a lot of people do, they're trying to turn their hips, so they turn their hips really flat, and what happens there is it causes their body to raise up, right? Butt comes closer to the ball. All right, you lose your posture, you stand straight up. From up here, you're in trouble. It's going to be very hard for you to find the bottom of the golf ball again. Most of the people who do that are going to be the people who really top the golf ball. All right, so make sure when you're turning your hips that you're not one of these people who stand up. So put that alignment rod through your shorts. All right, make sure that you're turning correctly. So what a correct hip turn is going to look like, okay, is when you set up to it. Okay, as you turn back, you're going to notice that my right hip actually gets a little higher, left hip gets a little bit lower, okay, and you're going to see that it turns a little bit of an angle. All right. Common faults that I see when people turn their hips is the front foot comes up, right, and they really try to turn their hips a lot, and again, same old story happens. You stand up, okay, or if people are trying to turn their hips really hard, I see a lot of this going on. Front legs go forward, back leg straightens, right? You see a lot of, yeah, I got a lot of hip turn, but I've got a whole lot of other stuff happening that's really gonna make my swing start to fall apart on me. So first thing I want you to do is just make it nice and simple, all right? Put that through your pants. As you take the club back, front knee will just move out a little bit, right knee will straighten a little bit. Some people will straighten it more than others, depends on the flexibility in the hips, all right? But make sure that it looks like it is right hip's a little bit higher, left hip's a little bit lower, all right? Make sure you're doing it naturally, all right? Not by swaying. If I sway, yeah, my right hip gets higher, my left hip gets lower, all right? But that's not a turn. That's what we find most people with a fault when they talk about, oh, I gotta get my weight over there, and so they start shifting their weight by sliding their hips. All right, so I want you to feel like the weight stays on the inside of the right heel. All right, your right leg's pretty much going to stay in the same spot. It's almost going to feel like you're turning right over the top of it. All right, it's not moving one way or another, it's going to stay in its spot. Okay, and you just let those hips turn. All right, the more hip turn that you can kind of add to your golf swing, the simpler it's going to be for you to turn your chest, all right, and you won't have to use your arms quite as much. Arms do help you associate with a little bit more power, all right, but too much of it is what we come across a lot, and those are the people who struggle with swinging over the top and really struggling with their golf game. All right, so just take some simple terms, find yourself a mirror, see what it looks like, so you can just kind of practice how your hips should turn. Make sure you pay attention to your weight, make sure it stays on the instep of the right foot, all right, and it's also going to feel about 80% of that weight, 70-80% of the weight's going to be on that right side, okay, versus falling forward and getting all that weight on that front side. Okay, if you get the weight on the front side, you're going to have to back out of it. It's going to be a lot of complicated moves. So make the hip turn easy. Put that alignment rod through it and just really check how it's turning. All right, I hope that helps you kind of simplify what the hips do. All right, and it'll help you stay in your posture if you do it correctly.